Okay, good morning. Welcome everyone to Power BI for Government. This is actually our 12th meeting, so it's good to have you here. Those have been many times, those are coming back. It's great to have you back as well. Just a little bit of housekeeping before we do kick off. So we are using Teams webinar, and that means if your camera's on, if your mic is on, we can see you, we can hear you. So cameras are fine. It's up to you if you want them on or off, but I would ask if you could mute your mic. Otherwise, we might hear you during the session, but you definitely don't have to have your camera on. If you have any questions for myself or the presenters during the session, just drop them in the chat. It's easier than people talking over the top of each other at the same time. This session will be recorded for you. I will put it on the Datatel YouTube channel, and I will send you a link probably tomorrow morning where you got a link to that. And also all the data and the demos that I'll be doing today, I will drop again in the chat for you, and you should be able to see them there. So you can download the demo data if you want to follow along with me in today's session. For those who haven't been here before, the Power BI community of practice, we are all about collaborating, sharing, working together, and showing you various ways you can use Power BI. So we've got two very interesting stories of real life, real examples of people using Power BI in their workspace. We always have learning opportunities, so we'll be doing a little bit of training at the end of the session today. And as always, Power BI updates. Power BI keeps updating every month. There's always something going on in the space. So I've done all the reading for you, and I've been researching. There's just stuff that came out last night. So I'll show you all of the interesting things there to keep you up to date with the world of Power BI. For those that I haven't met before, my name's Warren Dean, founder at Datatel, which is really just a company of one, which is me. And my goal is to support you in the government space in the world of Power BI. So whether it's training, report development, best practice, rolling out Power BI in your organization, I'm here to support you. So please do reach out if you do need a hand. And I just want to highlight, I am running all three of my courses next month. So if you haven't been on any of these, we have Power BI for Government, which is end-to-end for a beginner Power BI. That's running on the 7th of March. We've had over 700 people attend that course. So if you do want to come along to that, do reach out. We do have the advanced course, which is the deep dive into DAX, data modeling, and Power Query. And we have the half-day data storytelling course, which is all about understanding best practice in data viz and making sure that people actually use your Power BI reports, because I'm sure some of you have built Power BI reports that nobody uses and they just sit there. So they're all running in March. Do reach out. If you want to come on more than one, there is a discount. So do just shoot me an email. Love to see you at one of the courses. Now, for today's session, we do have Raymond from the City of Bend over in the States. He's going to be talking about the Bend Police Data Platform. We do have Brendan from Brisbane City Council. If you don't know what paginated reports are, it's good to get your head around what are paginated reports and some of the options. So he's going to walk us through paginated reports and what they are. And at the end of the session today, I'm going to be talking about report tooltips. If you haven't used them before, I'll show you how to build that. But mainly the new card and some of the features that are available in the new card and putting them together in report tooltips. So that will be the end of our session today. Now, in terms of May, I don't have any speakers. So if you have a Power BI project, we would love to see it. We'd love to see what you've done and celebrate that with you and learn from your experiences, from your mistakes. So that's what we're all about here. So if you do have something you do want to share, please do reach out. Again, I'm just keep dropping the link in the chat for you. That's the May session. You can register via that link there. And the download, the report that I'll be demoing is there for you as well. So what is new in the world of Power BI? So we've got our February update, and we do have what's referred to as visual calcs. So visual calcs is something a little bit new. So you'll see if you're on February, the new icon there for, it's called new calculation. And I did show this one last time, but just so you know what it is, a visual calc is on a table itself. So either you can create a measure or a column within Power BI. Now you can create a new thing which is called a visual calculation. So visual calculation is at a visual level. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to demo some of that. So if you want to play along, feel free to open up the file. I'll be using this file as well. And what I might do is, as I'm doing it, I'll drop some of the code into the chat for you so you can copy and paste if you weren't able to copy it. So this is visual calculation. Obviously, you need to create a chart to get this to work. So here I've got Victorian accidents by year. And what I want to show you is just the old way of doing a running sum and how we can do it now in Visual Calc. So here I've got my chart. I've got a measure here called running sum. So if I click on the running sum here, I have a running sum formula to show you what that formula looks like. You can see it's quite complex. If you're not familiar with DAX, there's a few steps involved to get the running sum to work. So it's summing up by year as it goes down the various years. So what I want to show you is the new way that you can do this here. So if I click on the chart, it doesn't want to do it now. There we are. Up in here, you'll see this new calculation option.
David.
If I click on the new calculation option, you will see down the bottom here. Sorry, just note someone's not on mute. If you could just mute yourself, just check you're on mute. You'll get this option where it opens up here, and I can write calculations in here. So what we're going to do is we're going to do this new one here, which is the new way of doing a running sum. Actually, there's the method for it. I'll show you directly how you can do it in here. So in here, we have a little template, and there's some default ones that we can run. So I'm just going to do the running sum in here. So here I call the running sum, and it has a DAX function called running sum, and I just need to add a field. Now I can only call a field that actually is within the table. I can't call something else in the data model. And so I have a measure called accident. And if I type that up in there and I hit enter, you can see it's the exact same value here, but a lot simpler to write. So this is your visual calculations, and there's a lot more things that you can do in here. You can write it yourself. So if I wanted to just see the, let's say the previous value. So if I write previous equals, and then I can call a DAX measure called previous. And if I write accident, close that out. And you can see here now it is calling the previous. So there's no previous value in 2012, but now it's calling the previous value. Now, previously there's a little bit of thinking in terms of filter context and how you'd actually build this out in DAX, but you can see this is a lot easier way to do it. Now, unfortunately, you can't call this in other reports. Sorry, not reports, in other charts. It just lives in this particular chart. Now, if I want to edit previous, I would come over to the side here. You can see the icon for the Visual Calc. I can click on there, and I can edit that particular code. Let's do another one. Let's go. We've got versus previous. So here I can write accident again, accident, and I want to have a look at the previous accident. And as simple as that, it comes up there. Now we can still use our normal DAX functions in here, because you can see with this one here, that's not the previous, but there is no previous. So we can, I'll just copy and paste this one instead of writing it here. I can write a new calculation, and we can still use DAX functions like is not is blank to drop that in there. And so that'll fix that up. So now I get a blank where there is no previous. So that's visual calculations. They're going to improve it. There is at the moment no way to change this formatting, which is annoying. You can see it's got the .00. I can't get rid of that. You can format it. I've got another one here I was playing with. I'll just copy and paste it in so you can see. So if I put another one here, you would need to wrap it in a format. So there's a format function, so you can wrap it like that if you want to get rid of the decimals. But this, it's just in preview, so I'm sure they'll improve that as we go along. So that's visual calculations, which looks like an easier way to do DAX. We also have additional enhancements for columns, bars, and ribbons. So I'll quickly show you this one as well. Yeah. We can now do something which is called hide inner borders. If you have a look here, if ever used borders in charts, the border would always go for all the segments as well, which is a little bit annoying. We can now remove this in here. If I go select that chart, format, columns, into the border section, and I can hide the inner border, which is handy. So that can remove. We can also do spaces now between charts. So you can see my charts here are overlapping. So if we have a look here, I can go into the column section in terms of the layout. So here I can, if I turn these off, so you can see what it looks like. That's by default 0 space. I can increase the space between the two lines. I can then overlap them, and I can flip the overlap and do certain things like that. So there's a few options here getting built out by the visuals team. What is interesting is now I'm seeing all over LinkedIn people doing these different kind of charts, I forget the acronym, IBCS, where they're doing all these native. So before there was custom visuals, we can do that, but for a little bit of formatting, I haven't had a chance to play around with it. But you can do some additional customizing if you want to do like previous year versus this year or actual versus budget. So I'll have to have a play around with that as well, and we can maybe demo this next time. So we also have dynamic per receipt prescriptions for reports. This is a premium, but this is really cool if you are on premium. Let me just log into the Power BI service so I can show you how to do this. Sorry, I already had this logged in. If I log into the Power BI service, what I can do now, if I go into my reporting workspace, if I go into my demo report, if I subscribe to the report here, and this again is only for premium, you can create a subscription, and there's this new option here called dynamic receipts. So it's still in preview. And what I can do is I can select the data model. And if in the data model you have emails, which I do in this particular one, I can add the email and the name. And then what I can do is I can create a filter. So if I only want to send my email subscriptions to someone who, let's say for this example, has over 10 or over 15 results, and I want them to be sent an email with a PDF, I can drag, if I've got a KPI in here, expand the KPI, and I can say advanced filtering. If it is greater than 15, apply that condition. So you can see in terms of that list, it's now applying. There's only one user in the organization that has a KPI over 15. I can add that in so you can see that there. So this one's 20. So this will be the only person, and obviously this is dynamic. So if this person goes down to 10 next week and someone else is over 20, they will get the subscription email, and anyone else. So it is dynamic like that. And even further than that, if I can enter, so I want this email and I want their name, put a message in there as well. I can map the data and I can create dynamic filters as well. So if I had some data where I could put some kind of KPI, which is dynamic. So if you're on premium, that is a new feature that's in preview. Very handy. I will be using that one. Measure descriptions with Copilot. So fortunately, I can't demo this one for you, but in essence, what this is doing is if you create a measure, actually, I can show you where it is, but I can't demo it for you, unfortunately. So I have a measure in this report. If I go in here, you get this new option here. This is also for premium, but it will use Copilot to write a description in here for you instead of having to write it for yourself. And the last one is, this one just came out last night, so I didn't get a chance to have a look at it. So I've just copied the image here. Is Copilot is available in Power BI. And so you can write things in there like, what is the top 3 of this particular chart? Can you give me some insight? So if you need to write a report on a particular chart, you can use Copilot now, and it will obviously look at the Power BI report that's on the page, and it can write it out for you. So this one's just come out. Haven't had a chance to play around with that, but that's an interesting one in the space to watch. So it can write looking at segments of the report for you. So I'll send you a link to that when I do the sum up report. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to hand over to Raymond. Raymond, if you'd like to take over the screen, and if you could introduce yourself again. Raymond's going to talk about a data platform. So publishing open data for Bend, please. So thanks, Raymond, if you want to take it away. I'll stop sharing my screen.
There we go. If PowerPoint Live works. Yay! I love it when things work. Although, there the whole thing is. Yay! That's fantastic. Okay, so as Warren said, my name's Raymond Boone. I go by Ray. My friends call me Ray. Warren, we're friends now. You can call me Ray going forward. So if that works. It is Raymond on my LinkedIn profile, so I know when people are contacting me that if they don't call me Ray, then I'm like, you're probably trying to sell me something. But anyway, we're old friends now, Warren. So Ray works for me. So anyway, I'm Ray Boone. I'm a senior program manager with the City of Bend. City of Bend's Office of Performance Management. And I said City of Bend, but that's in the state of Oregon, here in the US. I've been with the city for over 9 years now. I originally started out with the Information Technology Department as the city's SharePoint and Office 365 administrator. Before that, I worked for various other organizations, including a small tech consulting company, the local big hospital here, the Oregon State Court System, the Oregon Department of Transportation, the Child Abuse Evaluation Treatment Center, and I spent more than 9 years in the Navy, the U.S. Navy, where I was stationed in Japan, the U.S., and Italy. So the department that I'm part of, the Office of Performance Management, that is a relatively new department here at the city. We've been around for about 5-6 years or so. OPM was formed after a short experiment where a handful of employees, including me, were pulled into our very, very data-driven community development department, sort of as a proof of concept. They were already well on their way to doing everything with data, but they believed in it so much that they wanted to stand up kind of this proof of concept thing. That was the data analytics program, and I was one of the founding four for that. But the city very quickly realized the value we were able to bring in CDD. And so they created a whole new department for us under our Chief Innovation Officer. And when we started, like I said, we were 4 people. Now we're up to 18 people here at the city out of about 750 or so. OPM has 4 main areas. We've got RAD, that's my group, that's reporting in databases. We've got a GIS group, that's Geographic Information Systems. Probably most of you know what that is, right? That's data on maps. We've got Enterprise Assets, which is also data on maps, but now we're talking about things like water and sewage lines and fire hydrants and things like that. And we also have a continuous improvement arm, and continuous improvement is kind of part of everything we do in OPM. I lead the RAD team, and I've got a report developer and a data architect who work for me. All right, so enough about me. Let me tell you a little bit about Bend. So the city of Bend is in Deschutes County, Oregon, in the United States. Lovely, wonderful, awesome Pacific Northwest. I grew up in Florida. I don't recommend going there. just don't. It's too many gators and pythons. But in all seriousness, the Pacific Northwest is where I've called home for the last 24 years. Yeah. Bend is situated just east of the Cascades Mountain Range along the Deschutes River and was incorporated in 1905 and started off as a logging town. Today, it's Central Oregon's most populous city. It's got a population of around 100,000 people. And yes, indeed, those are logs right there. And this whole thing now that used to be a mill is now this beautiful shopping area with I don't know, outdoor activities and shopping and food and all the fun stuff. It's a great place to hang out. So we're actually a tourism town. Many recreational attractions, including the last Blockbuster video rental store in the United States. But we're not known for just Blockbuster video. Mostly we're known for the outdoors. And if you like outdoor sports, Bend is the place to be for everything from mountain biking to fishing to hiking to camping to rock climbing, whitewater rafting, skiing, and golf. And one of my favorite things, motorcycle riding. I do quite a bit of that here when the weather is not frozen and snowy as it is right now. All right, so that's a whole lot about me and the city where I live, etc. So let's talk a little bit about this project. So our journey started a while back with a single goal. We had a tool that we were using called CrimeView to visualize crime data. And this tool is pretty basic, limited to a small little bit of data from our 911 emergency services. And it was actually written in Microsoft Silverlight. I don't know if anybody knows what Silverlight was, but just think terrible, and you pretty much got the picture. But Microsoft stopped with Silverlight, and so they decided not to keep updating CrimeView. So we kind of had to build a new a replacement for it. And our crime analyst teamed up with our GIS team. They're like, you know what? We can do this on our own. We don't have to keep spending money on CrimeView. Not to mention we can't, because, like I said, they were not going to do more Silverlight. And so we decided to roll up our sleeves and kind of build a solution ourselves. So the real meat of the project was getting the right data. We started by trying to copy what CrimeView was using, ended up going for the whole enchilada, getting all the Bend PD data we could from Deschutes County 911. But here's the catch, though. Our data was mixed in with data from 14 other agencies, because our 911 emergency services there, it's for the whole county and region, so there's lots of other data in there, and we weren't allowed to have it. So we needed a smart way to pull just our stuff, and we also had to get the lawyers involved for a chat to come up with an intergovernmental agreement, so that we could actually get access to the data. And as with so many of these kinds of projects, just getting at the data and understanding it is such a huge portion of all of it. But for sure, this was pretty big for us. Once we had the data, the project grew. We weren't just building one thing anymore. Suddenly we started crafting additional reports for internal folks to use. And then suddenly, you know what would be great? We should do a public facing dashboard. And so basically this whole project that I'm here to talk to you about today is scope creep incarnate. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about why we decided to let the scope keep on creeping, because it definitely kept on creeping. So like I said, project was actually, it was many years in the making, but even before that officially started, before the project really got going, there were a few things that happened, and they go all the way back to April 2012. I'm not going to go through all. I've got all these dates in here for that go back a little bit further, and the key thing to know is we were supposed to get our new CAD system in fall of 2018. That didn't happen. It actually didn't go live until 2020, when the world was starting to shut down here, and our world was starting to shut down for COVID. So you can see March of 2020 is when we actually went live with Enterprise CAD. That's the new system that we're getting the data from for the Bend PD data hub. So, March 2020, that's pretty much also, well, it was like a week later, I think, that we shut down here. So that kind of had a little bit of a impact on our project, for sure. See, in August 2020, though, not far into that time period, we got a new police chief, and that new police chief is he used to lead the data and analytics unit for the city of Portland in Oregon, which is the biggest city here in Oregon. So he was pretty keen on getting into the data. So in fall of 2020, we actually formally kicked off the CrimeView replacement project. April 2021 is when CrimeView was retired. So Bend PD no longer had a tool to visualize data. They could still kind of do some exporting. They had a data analyst there, and she was very good at taking the data that she could export and build reports with it. So good, in fact, that I hired her away, and now she is our lead report developer for the whole city. But anyway, at the time, she worked for Bend PD, and so we were very anxious to kind of keep her happy and get her the data she needed. So by June of 2021, the lawyers finally wrapped things up, and we had an agreement that allowed us to really get started. And it wasn't until September that Deschutes County said, you know what, we really just want to get you all the data. And that was kind of a big deal because at first it was just the CrimeView data, which was just this very little slice. And the chiefs over here going, we really want all the data. And they're going, yeah, we don't want to give you all the data. But finally, in September 21, we got them to agree to give us the whole thing. But that meant they had to create a whole process to pull out just City of Bend data. March 2022 is when we finally started receiving updates of that data regularly. So we're already in just a long time frame from the go live of that CAD. And July 2022 is when the very first internal facing calls for service dashboard and map were shared with the chief. So that's 14 months after CrimeView was retired was when we finally got something done. So if you don't take a whole lot away from our project or from this talk today, the thing to really take away is the fact that sometimes these things just really take a long time, particularly in government, and you just kind of have to hang out there and stick with it. All right, moving on. November 2022, that's the first draft of the crime analysis tool. And the crime analysis tool I'm going to show you a little screenshot of later, but that's the one that replaced CrimeView, and that was 19 months after CrimeView was retired. Why did we take so long to get there? Well, once we had all the data, the chief looked at it and we basically gave him a little smorgasbord sample of all the things we had. And he said, you know what I really want is not this CrimeView thing. I want these other things over here. And so we had a new police chief. We didn't have a fantastic relationship with Bend PD. So we started shifting things around a little bit. And that's where that start of the scope creep started happening. And it was kind of a very intentional thing. So by that time, the internal suite of dashboards got up to 5. We had the calls for service Power BI report and a map created from ArcGIS. We had case offenses and a Power BI report and a map, and the crime analysis map, and all that served up via favorites that we push out from the IT department, right? So it shows up in Microsoft Edge in your favorites, and they can just go find all the things they need. January 2023 is when we started work on the public-facing maps and Power BI dashboard, and then it wasn't until August of last year that the Bend PD Data Hub went live. And I'm going to just put a little link in there in case you all want to take a look at this while I'm talking. I will not be offended. All right, so the details. That Data Hub project was really 3 different projects that all started from this desire to replace CrimeView. First project was getting the daily data export from Deschutes County 911, and just the amount of time that I spent blathering on about how hard it was for us to get access to that data and then actually finally start getting it. It doesn't even begin to cover all the struggle that I felt like that we went through trying to get that data, but it was a project unto itself, just getting it. And then building all those internal facing reports for crime analysis, for Bend PD to use. And then finally, that third project was the external facing maps, apps, and data feeds that you'll find there on the Bend data or Bend PD hub. But I put the link in the chat there. So getting the data was just this whole dance, right, of competing automated job schedules and maintenance windows. As you can imagine, that database is huge. It's getting bigger every single day, and finding a time to export just the Bend PD data as a backup every night was challenging on the side of Deschutes County. It was challenging on our side, trying to find a time to pull it in and get it restored and start refreshing all of our reports, right? And make it matters more difficult is that there's no native way to do that in Tyler CAD. So basically, those Deschutes County folks really had to work hard to get our data out of the database and into a way that we could use it. So we owe a lot to the work that they did there. Great partners. All right, so here's some of the stuff that we've kind of gone through. Now, this data ends up being kind of sensitive, right? Because there's it's police data, so I can't show you all the details, but what we've got here is one of the pages from the calls for service internal facing dashboard. And so a call for service here is basically a police response for service, and it's initiated by an officer or a member of the public who either calls or texts 911. And a call for service is also known as an incident. It may or may not result in a case report, and each call has its own sort of unique incident number. So we get lots and lots of calls for service, they don't always end up with case reports. There's not always crimes associated with them, right? So this is that calls for service one page of that dashboard. And then here's the map. You can see the guy that designed the map kind of went for that reverse theme, right? The dark theme on it. But you can see this here in the middle. This is the city of Bend right there. And so you can see in this instance, we've got 3,000 calls represented, and then the details of the calls down the side that I've kind of blotted out a bit. Still seeing page 5. Are we meant to, oh, yeah. Have I not been moving through the pages?
No, there's no issue for me. I can see page 14.
Okay. Okay, cool. All right, so we're on page 14. Good. Okay, moving on. These last ones are going to go a little faster, promise. So here's the case offense dashboard. Very similar kind of a dashboard. Once dispatched to a call for service, officers basically determine whether a crime's occurred and if a formal case report's going to happen, right? So maybe you have a minor traffic accident and there's no case report. There'd be a call for service, but there wouldn't necessarily be a case offense to go with it. On the other hand, you might go to a traffic accident and maybe somebody was drinking, and so there's multiple offenses that could occur, and so you could have that kind of a relationship as well. You can have multiple offenses for one call for service. All right, and then here's that case offense dashboard again with the map kind of in the middle, and it allows folks to see where those case offenses are occurring. And this is the crime analysis tool. This one you interact with a little bit differently. Basically, if you're used to the GIS applications, you can kind of draw a polygon or a circle or a square or whatever around an area on the map. You can set buffers over here on the left-hand side and select from calls for service, case offenses, or both, and then date and time ranges for both of those, and see exactly what's going on. So it's tools like this where people can actually take a look at what's going on in the various neighborhoods and in the city. And then we got the Bend PD Data Hub. And again, I did stick the link to that in the chat, although it's kind of rolled up a bit. I'll pop that in there one more time just in case you want to take a peek. So the public-facing Bend PD Data Hub was the final part of the project. And although I'm very proud of this work, like I said, this is definitely the result of scope creep. Data on the Data Hub comes from the same place, all the same data that we pulled in for the internal facing tools, but we work to anonymize locations to the block level and omit locations for certain sensitive data types. But basically, it gives City of Bend citizens a way to check out what's happening around their homes. The mouse cursor, that's the laser pointer that I use. It's a laser pointer that I use here in when I'm doing a PowerPoint live presentation. Yeah, that's this thing that allows me to draw like that. Okay, so aside from building lots of tools for staff and the public, what tangible outcomes have emerged from the Data Hub project? Well, so glad you asked. So the internal calls for service dashboard has become a pretty regular stop for Insight. We get around 40 visits per month, and you got to understand it's pretty limited. It's the use case there. We've got like the public service officer or public information officer for Bend PD, the analyst, and then like the command staff that would use that. So they're checking it kind of monthly like that. Case offenses and internal dashboard gets about 20 views per month. So you can see they care a little bit more about what's going on calls for service versus the case offenses. Public facing Bend PD Data Hub gets about 300 visits per month. And then the success of that Bend PD Data Hub has sparked curiosity and inspiration, leading several other organizations to seek our expertise. Basically, we've had other folks reach out to us once we published it to ask how we did it and how we can help them do it too. Our Bend PD crime analyst, we've got a new crime analyst after I swiped the other one from Bend PD, but she continues to use the data models that we've developed to build new reports. So we've got centralized data models, and those serve as the basis for new reporting and data analytics. Leadership is considering integrating the data-driven insights from our dashboards into their performance evaluations, which kind of signals a big shift for Bend PD towards a more data-informed department culture, which is a big deal for Bend PD. Particularly given how short a time. I mean, it was a long time coming, but like in reality, it hasn't taken very long to get there. Anyway, Also, we've got agencies within Deschutes County and 911. They haven't just helped us build this stuff. They've actually used the data that are on the data hub. And finally, we're just about to start a new venture with our fire department, aiming to replicate all the same successes. So building a suite of internal and external tools for the fire department. All right, so we initially set out on this sort of journey. The goal was to upgrade or to replace CrimeView, and that effort kind of organically grew into a suite of resources that exceeded our original blueprint. Why do we embrace this expansion of scope creep, though? Here's why we didn't just stick to that script. Basically, it was backed by our Innovation Steering Committee. We have a central Innovation Steering Committee at the city, and they were like, do it, keep going, right? And so yeah, that was a big deal. That's leadership giving it their blessing. Next up, it offered a chance to forge a stronger bond with our new police chief. Like I said, he's a data guy, and doing lots of data was a big deal for that. We have a big commitment for transparency here at the city and within our department. So that's doing this project helped us shed more light on what the city, what Bend PD is doing. And the most challenging part really was getting access to the data. Once we had it, it was hard to stop building, to be honest. We had all this data there, and so it was pretty tough. At the heart of it all, we're basically data driven, and that's part of that's our core. That's and our compass here within OPM. And then finally, sometimes it just feels like the right call to do more like that, doesn't it? So I feel like the fruits of our labor are pretty evident here. You know, Bend PD, if you follow them on social media, you'll see glimpses of our work through lots of statistics that they share, and it's all thanks to the tools we've developed, and it's a testament to the success of the project, I think. So, yeah, that's it. That's the whole presentation, the whole kit and caboodle. Anybody got any questions? See one down there. Actually, go ahead, Warren.
You want me to? Yeah. If anyone's got questions, if you want to drop them in the chat, I'm happy to read them out for you. There's a lot of congratulations in terms of the work you've done, Ray. My question is, was there any, when you're publishing it to the web and displaying that data, is there any additional considerations that you need to do in kind of hosting that website?
Yeah, so there were a few. One of the things that I've kind of struggled with in particular, because I'm more geared towards data and then on the Power BI side, I don't necessarily feel like Power BI does a fantastic job of doing public data. And we do have Power BI reports embedded in the Bend PD Data Hub. Where I feel like it really is lacking is in the ability to provide extra context. And so when you open up Bend PD Data Hub, what you see is an ArcGIS story map. I think that's what they're called. Anyway, it's an ArcGIS tool that we use to embed the data and provide that sort of context. So that's one of the things that we kind of struggle with a little bit in terms of publishing data, right? If we want to publish a nice dashboard, Power BI is a better tool than some of the ArcGIS tools, but it's a little bit tougher in terms of providing that context. So that's one of the things that we have to take into consideration. Another one was, like I talked about, we actually remove some of the data or anonymize some of it before we get it published, right? And so some things we're stripping out addresses, or we're just changing it so that it's at the block level versus the actual address where an event happens. And so on the Bend PD Data Hub, we do have there are links where you can actually go download the data itself if you want to do your own work with it in Power BI. And so in some cases, we have actually pulled out addresses for sensitive case types like that. So
yeah, excellent. Okay, we've got a question from Matt. How do you ensure that your data dashboard does not become a victim of talking about Goodhart's law? So he's saying when a measure becomes a target, it ceases to be a good measure.
That's tough. And I'm not sure that we've conquered that. I would, yeah, particularly with Bend PD. So I found that Bend PD and our fire department both, honestly, getting them to use data is a start, right? And this whole project has kind of been a big start for them. This next step, and I think I mentioned it in the presentation, where they're talking about using the data in the dashboards in their performance evals, right? Where they're asking people to know what's going on in their districts, right? The sergeants and lieutenants who are in charge of certain sections of the city, they're asking them to know about the different types of crimes and how much of it's going on, right? And so that's the next sort of piece of it. And so it's kind of working with them and their leadership, and then, you know, top down, bottom up, to try and meet someplace that that gets them to understand what's in the data and then care about it, right? And I don't pretend to know all the answers. I know that it's a long journey with these guys. They're doing better than they were. They've got a long way to go.
I have another question about interested in how you show the data definitions and the details about sources when you have two different user audiences in terms of internal, external.
Data definitions. So external is pretty straightforward there. That's the bin data hub, and using that ArcGIS tool that shows we're able to embed that right in there. Internally, we have on all of our reports, we have an about page. Any enterprise report that we publish. So the about page is where we have those types of those kinds of definitions and any other information that's pertinent, right? And so, yeah, sometimes depending on how much of that kind of information is in there, we might have pop-ups that show up as well. But in this case, for these reports, it's all internal. Also, the internal audience, they pretty much know the data in a way that we don't need to explain it in quite the same way. And so it helps, you know, you put the level of explanation and definition, et cetera, metadata into the report that the audience needs, I think is sort of the key there. Hopefully that works. What else?
Yeah. Ruth would like to know if you've kind of moved into the AI ML space yet, or is there any this data that you've used for predictive analytics?
Nothing predictive in this. No. I have toyed with the AI functionality within Power BI, and we're actually looking at generative AI right now with Copilot. But got to get that license first. We were working on a demo with a external vendor, and we decided to kind of press pause on that. We're gonna go a slightly different direction, I think. So I guess the main answer there is no, we haven't done a whole lot with it yet. We are actively investigating right now, though.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Ray. Thank you for your presentation. Definitely key takeaway for me is that the length of the project, and I think that's something, if you worked in data space, you definitely know, getting access, definitely working across different organizations. So great result for you.
Thanks so much, Warren.
Thank you, Ray. All right. Our next presentation is from Brendan. Brendan, I hope you're there. Hope you're able to log in. I know you had some issues.
I certainly have.
All right, but you've made it. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Do you want to try sharing your screen, and I'll let you introduce yourself?
Yes, sure. So I'll just bear with me, guys. I don't do this very often, so please bear with me if you find this a disaster.
No worries. We appreciate you making the effort.
Okay.
Yes,
so
I can see your screen.
Okay, so I'm not a big fan. I'm not going to go into too much detail on the content. Sorry, my stack of presentations is very limited. My name is Brendan Connolly. I work for Brisbane City Council. I'm in the strategic team at the moment, so we're looking at innovations, ideas, and features, opportunities. That's one of my roles. I love Power BI. I've been a Power BI advocate for about 7 years now. I've also got quite a lot of experience in project management and also the paginated reporting solution. And I raised my hand foolishly just before Christmas to volunteer to do a little bit of a show and tell. I'm going to keep. Can you hear me?
Yeah, sorry, if someone's got their mic on, if you could just turn that off. Yep, we can hear you.
Yep. So I've sort of got a bit of knowledge about obviously the paginated reporting solution, and I just raised my hand to just say, do you want me to give a bit of an overview of paginated reports? Now, I'm not going to do the desktop version because that will take a good solid half hour to really go through it properly. But there is a web-based solution that's like a scaled-down solution. So I'm going to do, I will be doing a bit of a quick demo on that. Okay, so before you start, I'm not a massive fan of paginated reports. I hate it, but councils and government organisations have a record management requirement to record electronic documents in their record management system for for legislation purposes. So unfortunately, it'd be nice to not have to do paginated reports, but it is a necessary evil, especially in government organisations. But if you are listening in and going, oh, I don't need paginated reports, well, please turn on the TV and watch another program. It's not worth listening to me. But okay, so for those who are interested, you should always look at using Power BI probably for interactive data analytic type of reports. Paginated reports are needed, yes, as a necessary evil. You also need to make sure when you build your reports, you obviously have to have access to the data. And it's always a good idea to get an idea of the desired outputs. So a bit of project management there, scoping out what you need first, defining the filters and business rules. If you do all that work early on in any reporting project, you're going to save a lot of time. But anyway, what licenses are needed to use paginated reports? Well, you need Power BI Premium, Power BI Pro. It is actually free to use. The desktop version is free to use, and you can still see it in action if you need to. Please refer to the Microsoft documentation for details. Things do change, and I'm not always up to date with the level of requirements. I just know it works in council. So how to start? Well, you just go to what I'm going to be doing is showing you the web-based solution. It's available through your Power BI workspace. The paginated, I'm just going to mention the paginated report builder is intermediate and advanced users. It's more of it's really old school solution toolkit. It's actually SSR. The paginated desktop version is SSRS in disguise. What Microsoft did was just prop it up and just patch it together, so we had a simple web-based solution. So sorry for the confusion. There's sort of two versions of paginated reports. Very confusing. Okay, so why don't I go on to the next slide? Okay, so just a definition of paginated reports. Really, it's just a printer-friendly tool. So it manages your page breaks. So if you know Power BI and you built Power BI reports, you'll know that you have to be very careful if you want it to be printer friendly. It's no good for tabular data. So if you've got tabular data would probably be presented in a Microsoft list or a matrix visual, and there is a limit to, if you try to export that data, there is definitely a limit, and you just get it in a CSV format, so then you have to go and reformat it again. So that's the paginated. However, the paginated report, the web-based version and the desktop version manage page breaks correctly. So it's actually very good for typical reports that you need to control the page breaks, have repeated headers and stuff like that. And you can also export it to Excel, PDF, Word, all the different formats that you may need. So what I'm saying here is that it's actually it bridges the printing export limitations with Power BI. Power BI reports are great for interactive stuff. That's fine. But yeah, if you've got data that's tabular and you've got potentially thousands of rows and you need to export that data electronically, the web-based version and the desktop version of paginated reports will probably do the job. There are lots of other features. Once you built your report, it's actually can work interactively with Power Automate. You can set up subscription services for your paginator reports as per Power BI reports, which is I think is awesome. So you don't have to go. Once you set up a subscription service for a report you build, it generates that file and sends it off. I'm sure people know this already. If not, yeah, I can cover that off as well. It's a well-established tool in our council. We used it for various things like sales invoices, purchase orders. There's other use cases. The project status report, which I come next. So this is a typical. It's not very good looking, sorry, and it's ugly and horrible. I hate it, but it does a job. And these reports get automatically generated, again for record management purposes. Okay, so that is. I've got a few other slides, but I'm not good. So I just got to this. I'm going to try and do a demonstration now. So this is where it gets fun, Warren. I'm hoping everything will go well. So I've got what I'm going to do is a demonstration. I'm going to connect to a Power BI data set, which has actually got species data. So this is to do with some biodiversity work I'm working on at the moment. And I'm going to keep it simple. So I'm just going to be selecting two tables to demonstrate the Power BI Web Services version. I'm going to select some species fields. I'm going to also reference a table that defines what type of species they are. So it's not complicated. And you guys can try this at as well. Everybody should have access to Power BI Web Services. Now I'm just going to stop sharing and I'm going to switch to my Power BI environment. So this is where I get a bit slow. Sorry, guys.
No,
so actually, whilst I'm just switching, I don't know if you have a chance, Warren, to do a poll to see who actually is using this and people who have never used it. It might be interesting to just get a bit of a profile of our user base who are here.
Yeah, that is. Sorry, I forgot to look that up. Can I do a poll? Apps in here. Not sure.
Okay, doesn't matter. It's fine. So here we go. Nothing up yet?
Not yet, no.
Okay, I got it. Oh, I know what I'm doing wrong. Sorry. Okay, share. Okay, so everybody will be familiar with this workspace. So this screen. So it's the Power BI Web Services home for a workspace. I'm actually just looking at the. What I'm going to do is just look at I'm showing my workspace, so everybody will have a my workspace. So you can play around with this tool using my workspace. I always do a bit of playground testing on this solution. Okay, so I'm going to now go through the simple steps of creating a paginator report within the web services. The first step is there are different options to go through this. The first step is to click on the new. Then you can then select paginator report. And from there, I can then select what data I want to connect to. So it's a very simple process. So I'm just going to select this biodiversity data, and then I'm going to click on create paginator report. And it's got a bit of a familiar look and feel to Power BI normal report. So you've got your tables, you've got different panes. So you've got filters pane, you've got build pane, and the data pane. And this is the canvas, report canvas. So there is a bit of a alignment to Power BI. And really, then it's just the first step. What you might want to do is you might want to just insert a text box, and then you would give it a title. So I'll just be very quick in this. I've done some already before. So I've done a title, and you've got some basic formatting features. So it's very limited on the formatting capability. So then you can just use the search button to select data. So the next step will be to select your fields that you want. So I just want to pull in the species name. And then I can then start going off and selecting other fields I want to include. So I should have just done this one. So I'm going to select species. So this is a table of species fields. And I can see any measures that have been created in the system. I can then just add extra columns. I'm not going to describe what the fields are. It doesn't really matter. It's just a case of demonstrating the capability. I might want to also include a field that defines the type of species that we're looking at here in the group. So if you've got a grouping requirement, I can also drag that in to the actual canvas. So that's really it in terms of actually building your report. You can make it into a landscape portrait report, and you can also control things like the filtering. So if you only wanted to include, you've got a basic filtering capability. So I can say, okay, only show me species which are birds, and which ones perhaps are from a particular, well, actually I've selected different, it does you can actually have birds and fish. So that's really it, is the real basic fundamentals of generating a Power BI paginated report in the web services. Very simple, very limited. Sorry. So once you've done that, there's other things you can put logos in as well, but yeah, it is really limited. The desktop version is far more comprehensive. It will give you the ability to build multiple lists. It has got some charting features and stuff like that. As I said before, it's way too complicated, really time consuming for me to go through in a short period of time. But so what I'll do here now, I'm just going to jump back into the workspace. And I've just done a few demo reports, so showing you what it looks like. So the output is really just, it just generates the report. So that's the difference between a web-based version. It's got similarities to Power BI, but it's not very many. So this is the output. So once you've got your output, though, once you've got your report, it becomes quite good. So you can do subscription services, as I mentioned. You can create a subscription service for this report, which allows you to configure the time that it gets sent, and you can define who it gets sent to. You can also control the output. So here I've got it set up to be sent to Excel. So yeah, some of the other options you got there is you can actually pre-fill the email address. You can also utilize Power Automate to then take that file and do other processes with it. So if you've got, so if it's not just about creating list reports, it's about, it's one option you've got is to actually send those files to other areas. So it transfers data that might be of value. The other one I've got here. So yeah, so what you're going to notice is, well, what about the equivalent of slicers? And that's where this falls down. Unfortunately, the web-based version the web version of Power Paginated Reports does not have that capability of using slicers. So you can't filter the data dynamically. But the desktop version does support that option. So once you've run your report, you've got that export option here, so you can actually send it to PDF, or you've got all these options available to you. So I'll just go back one step. The other thing you have got is you can actually, in the paginated reports, you can have, I'll just show you this one. So it's the same report, but what I've done is I've actually created what's called a parameter, and it allows you to then use that parameter to control what data is filtered interactively. So that's the work. So the web version goes so far, but it doesn't go far enough, in my opinion. And it would be nice to see Microsoft spend a bit more money in investing in this. But you can get around that by using the desktop version. And doing this type of report in desktop version isn't too difficult. The other thing I thought I would just flag, and the final demonstration item I've got here, is you can actually combine a Power BI report and utilize a desktop paginated report, which is interesting. And one of the use cases there, I would say, is that if you ever need to drill through into the details of a report, you could perhaps have the drill through page showing the paginated report. And I've done that before, and it works quite well. So an example of that would be, I'm looking at my portfolio of projects, and I want to drill through into a specific project, and I can then show the paginated report in the drill through page, and that does work. And what I've done here, I've got a paginated report showing that. So this is a Power BI report. So this is typical Power BI, and what I can do is say, okay, I want to look at mammals, and I can then drill through, and then I've got my printed friendly paginated report showing for mammals. So that to me is one possible use case scenario for you to manage a report which has got a lot of data in a Power BI report. Because if you try to print this out in Power BI, you only see what you get. Okay, so it does take a bit of time. So what kind of skills do you need I'm just going to say what kind of skills you need for the web version. It's easy. Anybody can pick this up very quickly. It's not difficult. The desktop version does take a bit of time to get around, and it's not everybody's cup of tea. Leave it to the IT people if you have to. But I found that you need to, it helps if you understand DAX, and you can write DAX queries for the desktop version. There are quite a few tricks to actually, if you don't know DAX that well, you can use Power BI to capture DAX queries, and you can paste them into your paginated report to get the right data. But yeah, I think that's probably enough. I've probably blown people away if they're not interested in this, and I'm going to just take a pause to see if there are any questions.
Thank you. Yes, no, there's lots of comments and lots of jokes about paginated reports, but it definitely has a use case. I really like your drill through to a paginated for a printer friendly. That's a very good use case. I like that.
Yeah, I think the subscription service is also pretty awesome. It has actually got the ability to run sub reports as well. So I've only skipped on the surface here. I've tried not to go into too much detail because people get lost in the details. Yeah. I think if you have to create printed reports, this is definitely a feature. So it's one of the items that you need to be considering to use still. There's a lot of history with paginated reports, desktop version, and it is pretty mature in nature. Old IT people with big long beards like it, but people who just use Power BI probably will hate it. But anyway, is there any specific questions? Any gotchas? Oh, the gotchas and things I've already mentioned that. So there's the web version doesn't have that parameter capability, so you can't have interactive filters in a paginated report. It's like having a Power BI list visual with no ability to have filters. So you have to use the paginated desktop version for that. The desktop version has got a lot of quirks. They're all pretty well documented, and there's quite a lot of good videos out there for people to have workarounds. But again, I'll just have a look at the web version first, get familiar with the concept. You can migrate the web version paginated report to a desktop version. That is allowed as well. But anyway, okay. There's a big long question.
All right. I think just for the sake of time, Brendan, what we'll do is we'll wrap it up there. Happy if you want to drop any questions in there. Maybe Brendan can respond later. Realize we've gone over time. What we're going to do is, obviously I'm recording the session, so I'm going to do my little bit. If you feel free to stick on the line and you can watch it, but I'm going to record it anyway, so I'll do my little trade session to end. But I'll officially wrap up because I know some of you have places to be. So thank you again, everyone, for coming along. Thank you to our presenters. Really appreciate you taking time to put those presentations together. Always good to see, you know, organizations collaborating and seeing open data. Great to see here Paginated. I'm sure many people haven't used Paginated, so that's something else you can add in your toolbox if ever you need printed, and you've got lots of rows of data, so it's another option for you as well. So thank you to our presentations. Thank you for those. Obviously, you've come along again. What we'll do is we'll keep going, and I will record my session for you. I will again drop the link so you can download the files for you. But I know I want to respect everyone's time. I know some of you have places to be. So thanks for all of you for coming along. But if you want to hang out for a little bit, we'll jump along and do my little training section at the end. But otherwise, again, if you want to come on those training courses, just let me know as well. Please do shoot me an email. But thank you for those who come along, and I understand if you do have to leave. So what we'll do now is we'll jump into my section and I'll share the screen. So jump in here, share the screen, open up Power BI. And I'll jump into this training section here. Give me a second to sort out my screens. Yeah, so excellent. Thanks to those who are able to stick around, and not a problem if you've had to head off. So what we're going to do here, if you have a look at this, this is referred to as a report tooltip. If you haven't done them before, I will show you how to create a report tooltip. But what I actually want to show you is the card in here, which is the new features that we have, and some, you know, how you can use images and icons and things like that. So if you want to have a follow along with me, feel free to download the file that I just dropped into the chat. It already has it in here, but I'm going to build one from scratch. Now, again, because of our time restrictions, I won't be able to kind of help you if you've got any issues. I won't be able to have you share your screen. But what we'll do is we'll record it and you can watch the YouTube recording. If you like this type of training, this is very much like the DataViz storytelling course that I run, where we're talking about, you know, lots of settings and how we can make things and improve the user experience of the Power BI report that we're going to build. So first thing we'll do is we'll create a report tooltip. So I'll show you how to do that. So I'm going to create a new page here. So clicking on the green plus. And in my settings, I need to tell Power BI that this is a report tooltip. So I head to the page information. I like to call my tooltips TT. I already have a TT, so I'll just put a 1 there at the end. And it says allow use as a tooltip. And what this does is it'll minimize the page because we're just going to have that small little box appear. And so what we want to do in here is we're just going to create a card. I'll just use the original card here, the 1, 2, 3 card, because I just want the year. So if I put this in here, it turns out really big, and generally you'll have to make them quite small. So I'm just going to make that like a banner. And in here, I just want the year, which is in the calendar table. There is a column called year, and we'll drop that in there. It's going to be too big. So if we head into our settings here, we'll just need to turn off the label. This is the label, and then the value, we can determine its size. So turn off the label, and the value, let's drop that to like 20. Just push that up there and make it nice and skinny. And I like to give it a bit of a background color so that it stands out a little bit. So let's maybe go a light blue. So 1899 is, for this data, this is the first year of data, which is a data entry issue. It doesn't go back that far, but we now have a box. So let me show you how you can, just for the report tooltip, if you want that box to appear, what you need to do is go into format, select the visual you want it to appear, format settings. In the general settings, we have a tooltip. And again, apologies if I'm going too fast, but we'll record the session so you can have a look. And we should see now tooltip 1. Or for you, if you've just got the original, which is tooltip. Actually, no, you'll need to make tooltip 1. And when I hover here, this is the box that we've created. So if you're familiar with filter context, because I'm hovering over this particular column here, it's only filtered on 2021 data, which then filters this box to only show 2021. I'll head back to my tooltip page. Now, just a reminder, you do need to hide this page because we don't want it coming up in our report. This is just a little box that people are going to see. We don't want them to come to this as a particular page. So make sure you hide that. All right, now we're going to move into the new card here. So you see I've got the new card visual. Again, if you don't have, I think it was December, maybe November 23, you won't be able to do this. You do need to be on a newer version of Power BI. And if you see the new card here, I'll just expand this out. And in this particular card, I want to see the amount of accidents. So if I open up here, I've got two folders of measures at the top for you. The training one is the one we're going to use here. We're going to use this accident measure. So I'll drop the accident measure in here in the card. Then the great thing about this new card is you can, we're not going to do it today, but you can have multiple things in there. And if you have enough space, obviously not so good in a report tooltip, but you can have multiple things in one card. Previously, you could only have one. So let's just format this a little bit. So I'll head into the format settings in terms of, now you have call out values, that's what we've just entered here as a call out. And then later we're going to enter some reference values, which are associated with the call out. So the call out value settings are here, and I might just reduce that font a little bit. One thing to note is you have to be careful with the series and make sure that you're choosing. So by default, it's all, but if you want to do specific changes, you need to pick the measure in this case that's in here, or the column. So if I go to accident, then I can fix this display unit. So for those of us in Australia, we don't really use Ks, so I can go and turn that off. So I just get the whole value here instead of the K. All right, so that's the call out values. We'll come back to that one. Next thing we can do is we can add images. And hopefully you've got it in the download folder there. You'll see there's a little image that I've added. I can click on and browse and add an image. And you can see here I've got a PNG file with a car having an accident, and I can put that in there. Now, I don't want it on the right, and so I'll go through some of the settings here. I want it on the left. And then you just need to play around with the size. So let's go 50 pixels, maybe 100 pixels, something like that. And so again, I've done it on all, but you could have different images for different measures that you have in there as well. So there's our card. I'll just check that that's all working on the training page. So we can go in here. So I have in 2020, 12,000 accidents. Now I'd like to add a little bit more information here. I would like to know what was the accidents for the previous year. I can see the previous year was higher. So let's go and add that. We'll head back to TT1. Now to do this, we need to go to the reference labels. So our call out is accident. Reference labels are things that are going to sit under accident. And so what we're going to add here is let's add, so I've already built the measure in here. So it's the previous year. You'll note I've got a little icon in there. If you would like a little icon, it is the Windows button and dot. If you use Windows button and dot, you can pick, the memes or the GIFs won't work, but you can pick a little icon in here and you can search by that. So I've just got that little collision. And you can put it in there just because it will give a little bit of color and feel to a file here. So that's how you add that. And I'll drop accident previous year in this add label data bucket there. So now you can see I have my accident previous year. I can also add deaths in there. And I've got deaths previous year as well. So you can add a few different elements in here, remembering that they're all associated and they're all going to be under accident. Then in terms of each label, there's another level down. So if I pick accident previous year, I can add one, so I can only add one detail. So I can have another value in here. So for this particular detail here, I can expand that and I can have value here. And for this one, I've got an icon. I'll show you the code. So what I want to see for this particular one here for the code is I'm just looking at the change over time. So I want to divide accident by accident previous year. And here, again, if you saw before, I was using the format. So I want my format to be 0.00%. And the result is actually going to be, if it's greater than 0, up, it's less than 0, down. And again, I'm just using those icons in there. So you could have a value, you could have text, but just to make it look a little bit more interesting, Windows dot, and I think it's up. So I've picked that icon. So you can put icons in your DAX code. And so now what I'll do is I'll take that and I'll add it to the detail section. So there's almost 3 levels now, if you want to think about it. So we've got the call out, the reference, and then each. So the call out can have multiple references. Each reference can have one detail, and you'll see there now 5.78% and up. So that's handy. We can add a little bit of more context. So just remembering when I'm doing it for each particular one, I need to go and select a particular label here. So now if I go down to deaths, I don't actually have anything interesting to put in here, but I can if I turn on the details. Because I haven't entered anything in add data, I could write some text in here. So I can add a little bit of context. So I can say for this year, and you can see now the text will come in here for this. So deaths 3K for this year. Again, I could go and do all the little settings. So that's not 3K. That would be down. Where do we find that detail? In the value, display units is none. Okay, so you couldn't write text. You don't have to bring in a measure or a column. You can put some text in there in the blank. And then the last one, I do have a change. So my death change icon, I need to go back to the detail, the value. Where's it gone? Which one am I looking at now? Deaths. So I'll go deaths previous year. And in this detail, I will add my death change icon. Turn it on first, death change icon. And I'm just going to go and change that to none as well. So you'll see as the visual team are improving this, there's a lot of additional things we can do in terms of formatting. There's a few little steps, and hopefully you can go back and watch the recording. If you've missed them, you can catch them all. But there's a lot of detail now in this report tooltip. The previous tooltip, or the standard report tooltip, you can just have values. But now, and obviously we could put this in the chart itself as well, but I've built it out here. So I can obviously just copy this out and put it in as a visual itself. But I just wanted to show you because I was working on a project where I did this within a tooltip. So we could add it in here. And if there was filter context in terms of year, this would update. But if we have a look now, let's pick one where there's been a little bit of difference. Someone can hover over this line, 13,000 in the previous year of 16. That looks correct. Actually, I'll add data labels so that we can actually check. Turn data labels on. So that one is rounded, but 16K, and that's a negative 15% downward. So accidents have gone down 15%. For this particular year, there were 259 deaths, but for the previous year, there was 290. So we're down around about 10%. So these are just some interesting ways you can make your reports look more appealing using data visualizations techniques. We do a lot of this in the data storytelling course. So it is only a half-day course, but we spend a lot of time looking at different techniques. And again, the principle that we want to follow here is being able to get the answer for what people are looking at within 30 seconds. So that's the principle that we're trying to look at. If you'd like to improve your data visualization and data storytelling techniques, do come along, do reach out, do send me an email. Again, it's probably a little bit fast for you to follow along. There's a lot of different steps in there. But what I'll do is tonight, I'll put up the recording, I'll send everyone an email, I'll send them the link if they've missed it, and you can have a go at your own pace, and you can go backwards and forwards and have a go building out that report tooltip. So apologies for heading over time, but thank you, everyone. Thank you again to our presenters. If you're interested in training, do reach out, but if you want to come along to the May session, the link is in there for you. I will send an email summing everything up for you. But thanks again, everyone, for coming along. It's been a really great session. I will see you again in May. So thank you, everyone. See you next time.